discuss their first romance or their first job with Katie. And she will never see them turn 21, walk down the aisle, or have their own children. So much was taken from all of us in one evil act. Until society as a whole starts to take a stand, until everyone is educated in the existence and red flags of family violence and coercive control, we won't make the progress needed to stamp it out. It needs everyone on board, calling it out and not accepting it in any form. Changes and additions to coercive control laws are needed. How else can we stop things before they escalate too far? How often have you heard victims saying they report feeling unsafe and the police say they can't do anything until they assault you? We need proof. In my daughter's case, that may have been a very small window of intervention. Maybe minutes or seconds. We need to put laws in place that mean police don't have their hands tied behind their backs when attending a family violence call. Changes to policy and legislation take time, but we are all able to adapt and change if we put our minds to it. We should be able to use our own networks and connections to make change. Word of mouth through society and community can be very powerful. Looking out for your mates is what this country is known for. It takes all of us to make change. We live in fear every day of what the world is going to be like for our grandkids. It is getting worse. We fear a killer that didn't know why he did it being released. All we want to do is protect them from the horrors of our society. After what they and the rest of our family has been through, we should be at least entitled to that. 10 years on, we still remember Luke Batty. 6 years on, we still remember our Katie Haley. And in the years that come, we will remember Hannah Maguire, and many more continually are tragically taken. Yet it is preventable. I can't save Katie, but I can stop others from having to grieve the same horrible situation my family and I have had to. My advocacy can help people. It already has. It can save lives. The same can be said of anyone who chooses to say, I don't accept family violence and I will call it out. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rivka. I'm passionate about community and family health. Thank you for having me speak here today. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land and pay my respects to the elders past and present and all First Nation peoples here today. We come together to honor the memory of those that were killed due to family violence. I have no words that offer comfort for deaths that should never have happened. Instead, I speak to the families, friends, and communities that are here today. If you can, please continue to share the stories of your loved ones who did not survive family violence. Sharing your stories matters. Sharing your stories helps families and saves lives. I stand before you today due to the courage and voice of a father whom you just heard from, Boyd, whose daughter was tragically murdered by her partner. He shared the story of his daughter, Katie, on SBS. He spoke about coercive control, an unfathomable murder weapon, and a young life that was cut short by her controlling partner. I listened to Katie's story at a critical point in my experience. There was so much familiarity within Katie's story to my own. Due to Boyd sharing the harrowing experience of losing Katie, it gave me a chance to survive. There are people living unsafely in their home. Hearing the story of loved ones can save their life. I'm awed at those family members and friends who continue to be the voice of those who were tragically killed. Sharing your story is a selfless act that brings trauma and grief. It is my hope that you understand its impact on families who need it most to get them to safety. I speak now to community. I ask you to listen and learn from those stories of those that did not survive. Educate yourself on how to recognize, respond, and refer those experiencing violence. Every child deserves to live in a loving and kind home. We live day in and day out with loved ones in our homes. Home is a place that's meant to be secure and safe. When a breach of safety happens in a home repeatedly in cycles of family abuse, there's a shock and disbelief. As community wants to believe it happens elsewhere, my ask of community is to recognize this cognitive dissonance. Family violence happens in every community, and you can speak up for people who may not be able to articulate their experience. Refer people to Safe Steps and other family violence services. They are the experts in this area. In the short term, whilst leaving, it is highly unsafe, but life gets better for the survivor. You can be a support for someone if you can recognize family violence, respond with compassion, and refer them to services such as Safe Steps. Lastly, I speak to service providers, particularly Safe Steps. There is hope. It reminds me of the story of an older man and a younger man walking along the beach in the early morning where there were starfishes that were washed up on the shore. The young man was picking up the starfish and flinging the starfish into the sea. The older man asked him why he was doing this, and the answer was that the stranded starfish would die if left in the morning sun. The older man said, "But the beach goes on for many kilometers and there are millions of starfish. How can your effort make any difference?" The young man looked at the starfish in his hands and he said, "It makes a difference to this one," and then threw the starfish into the safety of the waves. At the time when I reached out to Safe Steps, I held the false belief that everything was my fault. I was terrified and feeling unworthy of their support. The kindness and expertise of the Safe Steps responder helped me to understand my situation further so that I could safely leave and finally provide for my children a loving and kind home. At the most difficult times, I made a promise to myself that if I survive, then one day I would give back to the services that supported me. Thank you, Safe Steps, for having me here this evening so that I could come through with that promise. In summary, I honor the memories of those that were tragically killed to family and gender-based violence. Sharing your stories matters and saves lives. I call on communities to recognize family violence, respond, and refer those in need to Safe Steps and other services. From the depths of my heart, I thank the organizations such as Safe Steps for the work they do to support families to safety and to begin healing to prevent intergenerational violence. I commit to continue to be a voice for those living unsafely in their homes and for those that were killed and no longer have a voice. Thank you.